Welcome back.
Thanks, Matt.
Welcome back to another episode.
We're getting in the rhythm now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. We're getting a few listens. People are kind of interested, which is exciting.
Kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And we're enjoying it as well,
Totally.
which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So last time we kind of talked a little bit about your history.
Yeah.
Kind of your background, what's kind of like led you through your career journey with your family and all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And so something that we've put together on the website as kind of a part of, obviously anyone who goes on the website can see, we have a value set.
Yes.
And so we have like a list of values that are really important to you.
Yeah.
And kind of, I suppose, they act as a bit of like a guide for you to navigate what you're doing.
I guess they make up me, don't they?
That's a better way of putting it, yeah. I think I'd like to start talking about community.
Yeah.
Because from last week, as we were talking, it kind of seemed that there was this running theme of you being focused on community, like when you were in the police and all the work you did with the Connect Centre and around the schools and education systems and general care work. To me, this felt like it encapsulated community.
Yeah, I think also when we moved to Shepton Mallet and we had our children, I became really engaged in community life. I really did. I really became aware of where I was living and what that looked like and how it felt and how I could contribute. And so that was a bit of a journey, and especially the kids going through school in the local community. So you meet so many people. So I started to meet people in my community a lot more than I ever had before.
Okay,
although I had been travelling, and that kind of is like community living as well, because you meet people when you travel and. But I was just much more aware of where I was living and how I could contribute to where I was living.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And why is it important? Why is this community value important to you?
I think community is really important. It's kind of, everything works better in community. Everything. So all objectives are much more achievable if you're doing it, if you're approaching it from more places than one person just trying to do it on their own. Like we have built these houses, for example, so we live in community with my mum, a smaller community with my mum and dad and my sister, and we're so much stronger together. Like if one of us is sick, then there's all of us here to support. If the lawnmower breaks, my dad can run it down to... If my children are sick from school, my mum and dad can pick them up. But then also as they get older, we're going to be here for them.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will stay living in their own home for many, 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 many years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's like my own tiny... But then community is bigger too, isn't it? You've got bigger sets of community. And so in 2017, for example, we set up a roller disco because we felt that there was a need in Shepton Mallet for younger people especially to access something that was really affordable and really fun.
Yeah.
And I had seen a project where it was developed in Frome, and my friend had also been a part of that project or knew about it. And then my mum randomly came to me one day and was like, I want to set up a roller disco. And I was like, well, that's so weird, because I had that thought as well. So we were like, well, we'll have to do it then. So we set up this roller disco in 2017, and it's been so beneficial for the community. Like 100 people come every week. That's
amazing.
The max that we can have in the hall, and of all ages, little tiny people to like grannies. We've had grannies come and skate, and so it's it's so lovely to watch it, and people having so much fun, and they love starting their weekend coming to the roller disco. And for me, that was like something that had started with a couple of, my mum and my friend, and we had grown it, and it had benefited us by doing it in the first place, but also the whole community.
Yeah. And I suppose
it's
kind of testament to like the power of community as well, being able to like accomplish things together.
Yeah.
And I think an interesting point that you were talking about there as well, obviously community is your family, but then also the people that you share the environment with and having a connection with them together. And I suppose that's why the what we're doing here feels very important because it's for the people in the community, hearing their voices and kind of what their needs are.
Yeah, there's maybe... Are we talking about politics? We're
It's
always
all
talking about politics. There's maybe been a bit of a disconnect lately with people understanding how our politicians get there in the first place. And our politicians get there in the first place because they are elected. And to be elected, you need to engage with the people who are voting for you. So for me, it's just a very clear line. And I think there is a disconnect now with our elected politicians to the people who are actually voting for them. And I think the people who are voting for them feel that. They're like, well, they're not in the constituency, or they're not here, they're not in our community, we never see them, they never reply to an email. Yeah. And we're the ones who vote, and they expect us to vote for them. So there's this, and especially when things are falling apart, like there becomes all of this.
It feels very separated. I know this is something I feel as well, that if my MP didn't even live in my constituency, it kind of feels a little bit like, well, do you even know what's going on?
Yeah, they don't even live here. Yeah, totally. And actually, I go to the constituency has changed massively. This constituency that I'm running for, and Yatton is coming in, and I go and door knock, and this valid point. Well, you live in Shepton, it's like 45 minutes away, and I'm like, yeah, it's true, I do. I can't do anything about that, but I am engaged with your community. Yeah. I have been to your parish council. I have connected with your councillors. I've connected with your North Somerset councillors. I've door knocked 4 days in your community. I'll do more, hopefully. Yeah. I have engaged, I have been to your market. So it's like I have done all of these steps to try and engage myself with your community as much as I possibly can.
And not to forget that the constituency is pretty big as well.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
So you can't, even in a smaller one, you can't be in every single village. You can't live everywhere.
I feel like on this journey. I feel like I'm neglecting my own community by doing this. So I'm a town council on Shepton Mallet Town Council. I've definitely taken a step back from my roles. I used to be the vice chair, for example, of the council. I used to be chair of HR and chair of P&R. So I've taken a step back from all of those roles in order to release capacity to go and engage in other communities.
But that's why it's so important, because you've got to be able to spread yourself out, because you're going and talking to everybody and kind of seeing, because communities change from place to place as well, what people hold in value and what people care about in their communities must change from different area to different area. So
yes, it does.
You have to actively go out and kind of see what people care about.
Yeah, there are a lot of crossovers though, especially in this constituency. So the constituency is made up of villages predominantly, and a lot of those villages, there are developments happening in those villages, housing developments. And it's not that they don't necessarily want the housing developments. Everyone understands we need more housing. It's just more about the thought processes that are applied in those housing developments. So is it supporting the existing community that is already there? Are we feeding in with extra schools and medical centres? And, we've had a lot of flooding in the last month.
Yeah, here. Absolutely. Some awful flooding.
Very bad flooding. And we live on a floodplain. So we live on the levels, Somerset levels. It floods. So we need to take all of that into consideration, because what might work with a decision that's made in London is not applicable to Somerset, because we live on a floodplain. So, okay, we can pass legislation to get housing developments put up, but we need to apply that to the local area. Yeah,
absolutely. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And what do you see is the real power in bringing a community, and how do you bring a community together?
I think fundamentally people want to be brought together. People need people. We learned that from COVID, didn't we?
Very true.
When we were all separated out, people became very isolated and unhappy, because people need people. So you're talking about doing something that people actually, there is a need in themselves anyway that they want. So you just start there and then you grow it.
And I suppose there's an interesting point in here as well, because the idea of community isn't necessarily just the people that are in it, but also what's put in place for those people to be able to see each other, like transport links and things like that.
An issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our bus service has been stripped massively, and that has environmental factors as well. So it's not even the fact that we do have a bus, but people can't rely on it. So we need a service that is reliable and regular and affordable. And if all of those things keep getting stripped or they're not reliable, people will revert to other methods of transport. It's no good saying, oh, we had a bus last Tuesday. Why didn't you get it? Well, it's like, because I need to go to work every day. Or I need to do,
Yeah.
So everything we do and everything we look at needs maybe we should put sustainable as another value, because that is quite an important one. Sustainability. It has to be sustainable. We have to look longer than just fixing a short term.
Absolutely. And this is something that's kind of come out of looking at politics a little bit closer, or the political system, is that there seems to be a lot of focus on short-term solutions versus long-term solutions. And those short-term ones don't really seem to be working.
No, because it's all about protecting their own government, as it were, or their own reputation.
Yeah, versus serving what the community...
actually just doing what we need to do as elected politicians.
Yeah, versus what you can kind of see on the doorstep as well.
And again, if we took out the party political narrative in that, we would be more effective in meeting that responsibility.
So I suppose there's a part in here where the community is also almost like a unification, that we're not dividing like the political parties at the moment are dividing themselves between the parties, but then also internally as well.
Yes.
There's more focus on that than bringing everyone together.
Yes.
And
I don't think they know how to. I think they're stuck. So yeah, I think, and to get them unstuck, if they actually just applied the other value of listening to what people are saying, and really listening and understanding and applying, they would be able to move. But because they've shut the door on that and made it difficult for that line of communication.
And where do you think that's come from?
What, the fact that they don't want to listen?
Yeah. Where have the listening skills gone? Where are the obstacles that are stopping the current system from listening?
Or you get quite deep in it. We would try and stay above the line, but maybe power and money get in the way.
I think these are things that people can see.
Yeah.
I think these are kind of becoming like self-evident facts that MPs are there. They're human beings, and they get into politics to try and make a difference.
Yeah.
But maybe the system isn't set up for them to be able to do their best job possible, and perhaps they're more rewarded by party loyalty. There's constrictions in there that we've kind of talked about before as well.
I think what I've seen is that a lot of people's language is all about the politicians need to do this. And I've started to ask the question, definitely lately, definitely since I decided to run, was, well, who gets to decide who the politicians are? Like, I would be a great MP. I would be a great MP.
Yeah.
So why have you decided that just because I'm not in a political party that I can't be an MP? I'm a bit of a rebel, though.
Yeah. I think that's why it's working.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's working.
Yeah.
Well, that was really exciting. And I think in the next episode, we'll do a little series and touch on like a value per episode.
Yeah.
I think that might be quite interesting. But if everyone else at home who are wanting to become a part of the Abi for MP community, then head to the website again. We plug it every week. You can get updates on the events that we're doing and everything in between. So we'll see you then.
Yes, cool.